the Alpaca, and we're going to get to see it the way Boz intended.
The event that never was, we wondered what could have been, but wonder no more. The Alpaca is back again. We're doing it back with the legless rope climbs, no missed climbs. We saw this happen in semifinals. It's the same standard and a little higher, and push the clean and jerks. Time under tension. Get done with those kettlebells as fast as you can. Save that grip.
Recipe for Success is delivered by Trifecta. Mike Arsenault is delivered by Canada.
Thank you very much, Sean. Mother Nature didn't want to see the legless rope climbs last year, so the Alpaca, of course, had to be modified. This year, there's not a cloud to be seen. Beautiful blue sky. The sun is out, so we're doing the Alpaca Redux, as Chase mentioned. The athletes have seen these legless rope climbs in semifinals. It is a little bit higher this year, and Roman said Roman won it last year, basically called his shot. We'll see adding the rope climbs if that makes a difference here in test number 4.
Thank you, Mike. 20 men will be out on the field. And in lane number 10 is your two-time defending champion, Justin Medeiros. While Roman Krenikov had a near perfect day number 1, Justin Medeiros had the 2 worst finishes of his career, rebounded in test number 3, but currently sits in 23rd place.
Sean, the true test of a champion lies not on whether he can triumph, but whether he can overcome obstacles. And that is the next 3 days of competition for Justin Medeiros.
Sam Quant, meanwhile, sits in 35th place overall. He has 3 tests to get himself inside the top 30, because remember, we are cutting 10 athletes at the end of the day. And the Alpaca is underway. We start with the sled push, and right now it is loaded with 544 pounds, 6 kettlebells weighing 70 pounds, about 31 kilograms, and the total on that sled in kilos is 246. They'll ditch 2 kettlebells at each line.
But Jason Hopper in the back left part of your screen is getting pinned by this sled. Now, fortunately, the sled gets lighter as you go down, but look at the struggle from one of the more powerful athletes in the field. Sean, as you said, every 42-foot section, they'll drop off 2 kettlebells of the 6 that they have, weighing 70 pounds apiece. So you're just knocking off 140 pounds each time through. It should get easier, but the fatigue level that starts this test is going to blow these athletes up before we even get to the most technical aspect, which is these seated legless climbs.
The bottom of the screen, it looks like Jack Farlow, now in the middle of your screen, who's your leader. Will Morad is right behind him in 2nd place. 18-minute time cap here. Timing is presented by G-Shock, the official watch of the NOBULL CrossFit Games. Jake Douglas also towards the front here. Heike Servani is done with his sled push, and he will move to the ropes.
Now, this was the thing last year, Sean, is that we had to get rid of the legless climbs. One other thing to note, this isn't the exact Alpaca test that was programmed last year. The kettlebell clean and jerks went 20, 15, 10 for a total of 45. This year, it's even rounds across the board of 12, 12, and 12, which is 9 less. So not only are we adding these seated legless climbs that should help the gymnastic skilled athletes, but we also removed 9 heavy clean and jerks as well.
There are 49 total scored repetitions in this test. At the 6-rep mark, that is when the athletes will return to their first set of kettlebells for those 12 clean and jerks.
For the standard on these legless, you have a mark at the bottom. Both hands must be clearly below, show control, and come down to a seated position. Once the hands drop below, do what you want.
And Justin Medeiros is one of the first men off, along with Heike Servani.
Sean, we were talking last night is how this could be a great bounce back event for Medeiros. He got 5th last year in the Alpaca version that we had in 2022. But if you think back to semifinals last year, not having a clean run that we're used to for Justin, well, what did he do when we came out and we had these seated legless rope climbs in the test? He set the test record worldwide. So this is a good bounce back test for Justin Medeiros.
Let's go down to Mike Arsenault with more on the two-time champ.
I had a chance to speak to Justin's coach before test number 4 here, and of course we saw the damage on his chest from falling off his bike in test number 1. His chest feels much better this morning, and through those first 2 tests outside, he just didn't feel like himself. So his coach, Adam Neiffer, said they're a little bit, not necessarily concerned, but unsure of how Justin's body would react to being on the floor with the heat, the humidity, and that sunshine. Felt much more comfortable in test 3 inside the Coliseum. So we'll see how he fares here outside at the North Park before we head indoors for the rest of the day.
Trying to hold on. Takes the lead.
Justin Medeiros and Sam Quant, 2 men who we expected to be much higher in the standings at this point, are your leaders right now.
They had 2 different starts to the day. Quant got 7th to start test 1, where Medeiros is 29th, 37th, but 35th and 30 for Quant on the end of the day.
Kaike Servani, Justin Medeiros, Sam Quant, and now Will Morad, the 4 men moving their sleds, now loaded with 2 70-pound, 31-kilo kettlebells. That sled weighs about 124 pounds, 56 kilos.
So when you look at the added element that we have here, Sean, of the seated legless rope climbs coming back, that goes into play of how some athletes decide to push the sled. Do I hook my shoulders underneath to save my hands versus straight out in front? The kettlebell clean and jerks, smoking the grip, the pushing the sled, having your hands pressed against that is actually going to tax your grip more than people think. Just because you're pushing does not mean you're not smoking your grip. And so what we've seen is a lot of athletes are breaking up these clean and jerks more than last year because it's all going to come down to how you navigate these rope climbs.
That first rope climb, Servani has lifted off over in lane number 19.
Medeiros and Servani now on their second set of 2 rope climbs.
You see Justin Medeiros on the left. He has very short, choppy pulls, where Servani on the right is longer. Servani on the right will actually almost extend his top arm to pull him up. That is not as strong of a position to be in on a pulling movement. So the difference between the 2 is curious, where you may have the ability to do a long pull like that, but it's not a beneficial thing to do. What I'd rather do is say a chin up from a 90-degree position or a full extended position. 90 degrees is the place you want to be.
Justin is now through his second rope climb, and he is starting to separate himself from the men that were in the lead here.
And there you see the struggle. Over-pulling, too much biceps in the mix versus using the lats to help you get pull. And now his grip's smoked and you miss a rope climb.
Jack Farlow and Sam Quant are also done with their second round of rope climbs, as is Will Morad. So it's Medeiros in the lead right now in the first of these 2 heats. Again, Medeiros in 23rd place overall, had the 2 worst finishes of his career yesterday in ride and then in the pig chipper. 12 more clean and jerks, 70 pounds each on the kettlebells, and then they will load those back onto the sled and push it forward.
If you've never tried kettlebells at home, maybe you've used dumbbells, it's a night and day difference between using a barbell. The kettlebells are unevenly weighted. They're odd, they're called an odd object for a reason. And a big thing about here is getting comfortable with the weight distribution, getting comfortable with the awkwardness that is a kettlebell. Now when you add some weight to it, I'm just talking about regular kettlebell, it's a whole nother beast in general.
I believe the only one with 5 reps or less.
Farlow, Medeiros, and Quant, your leaders now. Morad has fallen a couple of reps behind the leaders.
Farlow getting ready to load.
Farlow and Quant on the left side. Medeiros is on the right, and now he is loading his kettlebells on the sled, and he will push it forward to the next line and then return for 2 more rope climbs.
And we said the nice part at the beginning of this test was you get to continually unload your sled as you work your way down the field. The worst part of this test, as the sled gets heavier as you get further and further into the test itself. So usually when we say, you do a 21-15-9 format, it's designed to keep the intensity and the speed up the whole way. This might be opposite.
Jack Farlow is your leader. Justin Medeiros sits in second, and it's Will Moore and Sam Clark fighting for third right now. Medeiros is taking another break on this sled push.
And that's a bit of a red flag for Medeiros, is because we saw this happen yesterday on the bike. We saw this happen yesterday on the pig chipper out here on the field. And what it looks like is that he's just getting gassed. There's something not right with Justin Medeiros, because he has never had an issue with this type of test. So the question remains is, what is going on with Justin?
His family in the crowd here trying to urge him on as he is heading back to the rope for his final round of climbs. Jack Farlow is the leader, and Farlow is making his first descent here, and that rebel count. Let's go down to Mike Archer with more on Jack Farlow.
Thank you very much, Sean. So in test number 1, Jack's legs cramped so severely that he could barely shuffle through his final transition on test number 1. He's also training partners with Emma Lawson. So this, as you mentioned, his first year at the Games. Emma has been an integral resource just helping Jack navigate all the challenges of being a rookie at the CrossFit Games. Currently 37th place. Of course, we have a cut coming. The top 30 will move on. Jack is big and strong, very good on the Olympic lifts. He wants to get himself inside the top 30 to be able to show off later this weekend.
Justin Medeiros on his first of his final 2 rope climbs. Jack Farlow, meanwhile, is done. So Farlow is working his way back to the kettlebells and sled for his final 12 clean and jerks.
When you think about clean and jerk, when you think about Jack Farlow, this kid is unbelievably strong. Clean 400 pounds, has jerked 400 pounds. So 2 kettlebells with 70 each hand plays to his strengths.
Farlow getting right to work. You see Jason Hopper at the bottom of your screen. He just got done with his second round.
At the beginning of this test, Jason Hopper probably pushed 5 times in a row. That sled maybe moved 5 inches.
Here comes Medeiros. The good news for Justin is that he is still in second place in this heat, but we still have 20 more men to go after this.
Justin has still some of the better legless climbs in this heat. That's where he's gaining a lot of his time. Round 1 of this test, handled the clean and jerks, took 1 break, pushed the sled 42 feet. On the second round, much different story. Still took 2 sets in the clean and jerks, rested more, and had to take 2 breaks on the last sled. This last sled push is going to be harder than the previous one.
Jack Farlow on the left side. This is his first individual appearance at the CrossFit Games. Former team competitor. Finished 6th in the teenager and 6th in the 17-year-old division in 2019, and he is now done. Now all Farlow has to do is get the sled to touch the blue paint in the end zone, and he will be able to cross the finish line.
If you're curious of how heavy this is, we saw the men flip a 510-pound pig yesterday. This is like taking that pig and trying to push it across the field flat on its belly, plus an extra 40 to 50 pounds.
Fully loaded, that's 544 pounds, 246 kilos that he is trying to lug down that field. And Medeiros is taking a break and taking a knee as Jack Farlow is just about 5 feet from finishing this thing. And Haynes is on the kettlebells for the final time as Farlow is in. Farlow's going to take the first heat, 12:54.31 seconds. Ant Haynes is pushing Justin Medeiros for second place right now. Nick Matthew is there as well, as is David Sharunki. One final push for Justin Medeiros here. And there goes Justin.
Sharunki is done.
And David Sharunki is the biggest athlete in the field. He's 227 pounds. And he is starting to get that sled moving as Medeiros takes a break.
The trick here, Sean, is that you gotta make sure you don't dip the nose of the sled down into the turf. The problem with Sharunki is that he is so tall, it's very difficult to get parallel with the ground and make sure that push is going directly forward and not down.
Well, Sharunki's got his hands on that thing to try to hold the back end down. It looks like he is gonna make it across, so Justin Medeiros has now watched another man pass him in this heat as Sharunki gets in. Second place in the heat at 14:04.63 seconds, and Medeiros still working on that final push as Ant Haynes is now done with his final 12 clean and jerks, and Nick Matthew is just about done as well. They're at the right side of your screen. There goes Medeiros. Again, he's just got to get it into the blue, and that will do it for Justin Medeiros, and he is in. 14:31.17 seconds. Here goes Ant Haynes. Jason Hopper's made up some ground as well. He's back to the kettlebells for the final time. Ant Haynes just about done, and he is there. Now Nick Matthew is working on his sled push. Haynes at 15:02.37 seconds. You can text macro to 69456 to get a free beef for life plus 40% off trifecta meal delivery. Eat Elite.
Over in lane number 16. Looks like you've got an athlete over there as well, Josh. You're working on
Nick Matthew looks to be the next man to finish here. 18-minute time cap. 2.5 minutes to go before we hit that. Matthew coming in 26th place overall. Best finish came last night in the inverted medley when he took 8th. They got Sam Quant and Bronislaw Olenkowicz on their final sets of clean and jerks as Nick Matthew is across. Jason Hopper has loaded up his kettlebells and he will now start on his final sled push. Looks to be the next man across.
I hope this gives people perspective of how hard this sled push is. Like I said to start, Jason Hopper is not a small man. Jason Hopper is not a weak man, and this sled is just stopping him dead in his tracks.
Here comes Bronislaw Olenkowicz at the top of your screen in the blue shirt, threatening to pass Hopper.
Look at Bronislav's hips relative to Jason Hopper's own. Bronislav's hips are below his shoulders as he's staying low. Hopper's hips are high, so that's what's driving the end of that sled down. Bronislav's isn't, it's staying nice and flat to the surface. That's the big difference between the two.
And Olenkowicz gets across the finish line. 17:12.14 seconds for him as Jason Hopper is just inching closer to the finish. The crowd trying to get him there. 30 seconds to go before we hit the time cap. Sam Quant is starting his final push. Hopper will get in. Quant has 15 seconds. This one's going to be close. And now Quant will make it. He will be the last man across. Quant taking 8th place in the heat with a time of 17:56.21 seconds. And again, Sam Clark came into this test on the wrong side of the cut line. 35th place overall. He's got to gain some ground here.
And we have 20 more athletes that are coming. And you talk about the difference between the two alpacas from last year to this year, Sean. It's half the time. The winning time of 12:54. Last year, 6:23, so nearly exactly twice as hard as last year's alpaca. Justin came out early lead, good sled push to start, great on the legless rope climbs, but then it started to take its toll. Barlow makes a move on the second round and leans on his strength to put himself ahead of Justin going into the final push. Jack Barlow, rookie here at the CrossFit Games individually, good start today, number 2.
Jack Barlow with a top time of 12:54.31 seconds. David Sharunki will take second in the heat. And Justin Medeiros, that needs to start scoring some points and move himself up the overall standings, comes in third at 14:31.17 seconds. Final heat coming up next. It's Friday at the 2023 NOBULL CrossFit Games, and we are kicking things off with a test that we were supposed to see in its entirety last year. It's the Alpaca. Thanks for being with us, everybody, at the North Park here at the Alliant Energy Center in Madison, Wisconsin. I'm Sean Woodland with Chase Ingram. Mike Arsenault is down on the competition floor. Overall standings after 3 tests, it's Roman Krennikov has yet to finish outside the top 5. 279 out of a possible 300 points. Jay Crouch sits in second place, followed by Spencer Panchik, but it is tight in spots 3 through 10. Test 4, the Wade Boson 10.
Fill it up again, Sean. We're running it back. Alpaca, sled push down, 126 feet, 42-foot sections, drop some kettlebells on. And then 3 rounds, 2 seated legless climbs, 12 kettlebell clean and jerks at 70 pounds each, and then a sled push all the way back to the finish.
Recipe for success is delivered by Trifecta.
Ooh, we saw it early last heat. No missed rope climbs. There's no room for that here, and there's no rest for the grip. And make sure the clean and jerks are quick, crisp, and fast. You don't want to hang on to those longer than you need to.
20 men will be out on the field in the second and final heat. They are all trying to chase down Jack Barlow's top time of 12:54.31 seconds. The leaders will be right in the middle of the field in lanes 9, 10, and 11. Jay Crouch is in second place, and if you had that picked, you are related to Jay Crouch. And for more on him, here's Mike Arsenault.
Well, Sean, you should have seen the megawatt smile on Jay's face when I reminded him that he was sleeping on the day 1 podium position. He's been doing CrossFit. His first open was at 14 years old back in 2013. Didn't have a great performance last year. What the difference was this year, he spent 3 weeks in Nashville to acclimate to the heat and humidity. That's what he's attributing to his great performance through 1 day of competition.
And there is Jay Crouch. So far, nothing outside of the top 10 and 2 finishes of 4th or better. Next to him, Roman Krennikov, and then Spencer Panchik, your top 3.
Well, Jay Crouch, 28th last year in Alpaca. Spencer Panchik, 24th last year. Roman won the whole thing, so they've got their work cut out for him today.
Now, 2 guys who are looking to make up some ground as well are right next to each other, lanes 13 and 14. We'll keep an eye on Brent Fikowski and Patrick Vellner. We are underway. First sled push. Again, 544 pounds, 246 kilos that they are pushing right now.
What I like in this sled push right at the start, it's like you're in a boxing ring and they ring the bell and you get punched in the face in the first second. And then you see how people react to that. We've seen people push the sled, not move. Game plan needs to change immediately.
Dallin Pepper and Roman Krennikov are the 2 men in front. They will be the first to unload their first 2 70-pound kettlebells, so they lighten the load a little bit. We'll start on their next push. Pepper is about a sled length ahead of Roman Krennikov right now.
You see Pepper, he has his hands on the handles, jamming his arms up together in that base position, which can greatly fatigue the shoulders and grip going into the legless rope climbs, where Roman on the backside has his shoulders on and his hands drop to the side. So it's going to be less of an impact on his upper body going into the rope climbs for this first round.
Jürgen Karl Gudmundsson has crept up now, and he is on a lead pace along with Krennikov and Pepper.
BKG last year, 12th place in Alpaca. And there you have it. Right side of your screen is Pepper, hands high, really compressing that upper body position where Roman arms dropped. Right, so not a lot of blood getting pumped in the arms, not a lot of blood or fatigue going into the forearms. So we'll see how we've seen athletes change their technique as the test unfolds.
Gubitson, Krennikov, and Pepper will be the first men done. And now James Sprague is there as well. Brent Fikowski finishing up. And Roman Krennikov, along with Dallin Pepper, heading to the rope. Over Carl Gubitson taking a swig of water, and he's going to get started on his first 2 legless rope climbs. Here comes Brent Fikowski in the middle in the blue shorts.
We said that Roman won Alpaca last year, which was the beginning of his campaign to get that second place position. In fact, that was when Roman actually scored more points than anyone in the back half of the weekend. And when he was asked about how would you have done with the climbs, he would have been better.
Brad also making his way up on the first rope.
Now hands for this seated, feet must leave before the hips. Hands must start below the start line. At the top, both hands clearly over, and then control the descent until hands get below, and then you can drop.
The 5 rep mark, Krennikov will be done. And Krennikov is in the lead here. Brent Fikowski has now moved into second.
Even the technical aspect of these seated climbs, then you talk about Brent Fikowski, and he's notorious for meticulously dissecting a legless rope climb or a hybrid rope climb. A couple years ago, we saw him do that leg wrap that no one did on the hybrids, where it's legless until the leg. So Fikowski has been working on these. And honestly, if you're an athlete that have games aspirations and you have not been practicing this test in particular, then I think you need to go back to the drawing board in your games prep.
17 is the number that Roman Krennikov is looking to hit. And then he will load up his sled and push it forward to the next line. Brent Fikowski staying even with Roman Krennikov.
Said last year Fikowski was 11. Pat Fellner actually took 3rd. As you said in the previous heat, Jack Farlow's 12:54. The winning time last year was 6:23. That is how different this test is this year.
Roman Krennikov will be the first man to start his sled push back down the field, now loaded with 2 70-pound kettlebells, 31 kilos each. Again, that sled is 124 pounds, 56 kilos. And here comes Brent Fikowski now in second behind Roman Krennikov.
And Fikowski using that same arm position that Krennikov is using. Usually when it comes to something technical, if I'm on the field, I'll just peek over.
Just look what Brent's doing.
What's Brent doing over there? All right, maybe I'll try that.
Here comes Pat Vellner, who is now in a fight for 3rd with Dallin Pepper. As Pepper passes him, so Vellner's going to fall back to 4th, and Bjorn Carl Gubitson is pressuring him. Yeti, the official cooler and drinkware of the NOBULL CrossFit Games. Head to Yeti.com to learn more. Roman Krennikov is on his first of 2 rope climbs, on the second of 3 sets that he has to complete on that implement.
We talked about the recipes being no missed climbs, and sometimes it's hard to judge how your grip is going to respond rep to rep on the legless climbs, and it's hard to do, but it's more beneficial to maybe, it's like if you're unsure, rest an extra 10 seconds more than you had planned to, versus get 3/4 of the way up the rope and realize you started too soon.
Brent Fikowski getting set to start his second and final rope climb.
That leg swing from Fikowski on the right, and that's just to gain some momentum.
Well, the women are coming up next, and we will have the 6-time fittest woman on earth in the booth with us. Tina Toomey will join us for the first heat of the women's Alpaca coming up here in a little bit. Roman Krennikov and Brent Fikowski neck and neck. Brent Fikowski in 6th place overall. He was 10th in ride, the opening test, then finished 3rd in the pig chipper, but in the inverted medley, he was tied for 23rd. So trying to get back on track here and move himself closer to a podium spot.
And that's a hard placing to judge because it was just so skill-based that a little misstep here could be 5 to 10 places. I think Fikowski actually missed at the very end of the last implement, lost about 30 to 40 seconds, and a couple people passed him.
The 32 rep mark is when Krennikov and Fikowski will be able to load up their sled with 2 more kettlebells and push it forward. And they'll go back to start round 3. 47 total scored repetitions.
Vellner's making a move along with Pepper and Adler. And the one thing with Vellner, great at pulling, great gymnast, strong, but that overhead pressing fatigue has always been a little bit of an issue for him coming down to this. And now we don't have a lot of upper body pressing, but you do have a lot of upper body interference with the sled push, with the clean and jerks, especially with the legless climbs. So him managing that work and just keeping him out of the red is going to be something that Pat just needs to be very aware of.
Fikowski, that was a smart move from him. As he dropped it to the ground, he put them on the sled, and now Brent Fikowski, because of that great transition, has taken the lead from Roman Krennikov.
Good sled flat, it's not bobbing up and down with each step. Nice and flat to the bottom.
Fikowski is done, Krennikov is done. Now back to the Zeus rig for 2 final rope climbs. Pat Vellner is now loading his sled. He looks to stay in 3rd place here in the heat. Time to beat again from Jack Farlow in heat number 1. 12:54.31 seconds. Dallin Pepper is back on the sled. Now Pepper has overtaken Vellner for 3rd as Fikowski and Krennikov head back to the rope. Dallin Pepper solidly in 3rd place as Vellner took a break. Now Jeff Adler has started his sled push. Vellner stopping again.
Vellner's actually, I think that's a strategic break for Vellner so they doesn't redline a little bit. He's been doing that. And when it comes to sled pushes themselves is that maybe you feel when your legs really start to burn, I'm just going to take a break, let it flush out, and then move back into the press. Those look more like strategic breaks for Vellner than fatigue breaks.
Krennikov and Fikowski both getting to work on their first of their final 2 road climbs at the same time. Fikowski done just ahead of Krennikov. Here comes Dallin Pepper back to the rope. Vellner working his way back, as is Jeff Adler.
This last climb, so important between Fikowski and Krennikov. When to go? Are you gonna go? Do I go with you? Reminds me of the old legless in 2013 with Rich, Troyan, and Hendren. Maybe do a little fake out.
Here goes Roman Krennikov.
It's a gamble. It's a gamble.
Krennikov got there. And Roman Krennikov back in the lead ahead of Brent Fikowski, who has yet to get on that crash pad. Krennikov taking a look over his shoulder to see where Fikowski is. And Roman's going to take his time getting back to his final 12 kettlebell clean and jerks. Fikowski still has not started his climb, so Roman Krennikov has a little more than 2 minutes to chase down Jack Farlow's top time, but more importantly for him, he is leading everybody who is immediately behind him in the overall standings and now looks to tighten his grip on that top spot on the leaderboard. Now Fikowski, meanwhile, is on his final rope climb, as is Pat Vellner. So Vellner has closed the gap with Fikowski a little bit here. And a no rep for Pat Vellner in the background. He did not show control on the way down. That is going to be costly for Pat Vellner.
Fikowski doing his best Ace Ventura 2 impression. 6 rope climbs are too much.
Krennikov is halfway through his final set, and he got right to work as soon as Brent picked up those kettlebells. 47 total score repetitions here, and then that final sled push.
We are about to find out if Roman
Krennikov is done.
that Alpaca for the final time. Roman took first place.
He's got a minute.
Last year, PT10.
Roman Krennikov is halfway home. Takes a break. Dallin Pepper has now made it to the kettlebells for the final time, as has Bjorgvin Carl Gudmundsson. He'll be at the bottom of your screen. Pat Vellner still has another rope climb to go, but Roman Krennikov, second win in 3 events, and Roman is reigning right now. Fifth career test win for Roman Krennikov, and 100 more points as he is locking down the top spot in the overall standings. Now here comes Brent Fikowski.
This is big for Brent. A lot of the athletes he's trying to leapfrog towards the podium are struggling in this test.
Jake Crouch and Spencer Pancic, pardon me, as Fikowski is in, and the men in second and third. And they're way towards the back here in this heat.
Spencer might be at.
Now, Pat Vellner, meanwhile, is just run into just all kinds of problems here on this rope climb. That's his 3rd attempt that he has failed.
And Vellner is in 8. Fikowski's sitting in 6. Pancic has about half his last clean and jerks to go, so he's close. But Crouch is not close. Vibig is not close.
Dallin Pepper is now in. Here comes Bjorgvin Carl Gudmundsson. So Pepper will take 3rd in the heat, 4th in the test. There goes Bjorgvin Carl Gudmundsson. He is done. He's got to get across the finish line. Jeff Adler, meanwhile, is getting set to finish up as well. So Krennikov is your winner at 12:34.59 seconds. Gudmundsson will take 6th in the test at 14:23.84. Now Adler is across, and now Chandler Smith gets set to finish.
And for Adler, great finish for him. Last year, Adler struggled. He got 16th out of 30, by the way, that were taking this test at the time, so bottom half. So a top 10 finish for Adler is big.
Chandler Smith is now in. He'll take 9th place in the test, 14:49.37 seconds.
Watch out for Mertens, lane 20.
Yellow Hosta is in, Mertens is in, Vellner now in all kinds of trouble.
Working hard, and we have less than 3 minutes remaining.
He could get capped. Vellner 8th place overall with 196 total points. At back-to-back 6th place finishes after a 27th in test number 1. As Spencer Pancic comes in, but Vellner's going to be towards the back of the pack here in test 4. Noah Olsen trying to get across. And there's Jonakowski, the man who won test number 1 for the 3rd time in his career at the CrossFit Games. Now 2 minutes to go before we hit the time count. Noah Olsen trying to just willed that sled across the finish line.
Less than 2 minutes, athletes. Less than 2 minutes.
And Pat Velder, meanwhile, the cheerleader you just heard from the crowd, just made that final rope climb.
Come on, Madison, Wisconsin, with about 90 seconds remaining. You have Noah Olson.
And here goes Noah Olson.
Pushing to get that Alpaca into that end zone.
Olson is in. 10th straight appearance at the CrossFit Games for Noah Olson. Closes out with a time of 16:40.05 seconds. Jay Crouch and Lazar Jukic are the two men on the sled right now.
1 minute.
These athletes have less than a minute to get a finish.
Sam Cornwright is out there. He starts to work his way to the finish line.
And go back to Fikowski. All these finishes are great for him.
Looking at the clock, seeing that there's 4.
Cormier was in 5th. Spencer 3rd, Jay 2nd, Moritz Fabig 4th.
30 seconds to go before we hit the time cap. Jukic gets across the finish line. Jay Crouch is looking like he might get time capped, and Pat Velder is going to get capped as well. I think Bailey Martin just sneaked in 8/100ths of a second to spare, but Roman Krennikov, his second test win, 12:34.59 seconds.
Roman Krennikov, I'm not sure when Russian babies are born, they just switch the teddy bear with a kettlebell, but that might be the case based off his performance today in Alpaca. Just got a little push from Brent Fikowski there towards the end as they became neck and neck towards the final round. But once it came down to the final climb, Roman Krennikov separated himself as Fikowski got a little bit of a no rep on that last climb. And then just like last year, it was all Roman Krennikov.
Roman Krennikov, another test win, another 100 points. He'll have 379 out of a possible 400. And just to put a bow on the Justin Medeiros story, not terrible for him. He winds up in 7th place in the test unofficially. The men are done, the women coming up next. Here are your results. Farlow and Fikowski, 2 Canadians behind Roman Krennikov. Dallin Pepper and David Sharonki rounded out the top 5. Bjorn Carl Gudmundsson in the place that we're used to seeing him in 6th. And again, Justin Medeiros, the top 10 finish for him. Let's go down to Mike Arsenault.
Roman, we had to modify the Alpaca last year. We weren't able to do the rope climbs. You won it. You said if we'd add the rope climbs, you win this one. We have some props for this interview. Here's your first place trophy from last year. We added the rope climbs here in 2023. Which version did you prefer?
Ну, в прошлом году не было так жарко, не было канатов, и та больше мне нравится. Это очень сложно. И хочу подарить эту штуку с прошлого года для Андриана, чтобы он помнил обо мне. И вторую с этого года пусть тоже себе заберет и хранит у себя дома на всю жизнь, чтобы помнил меня Романа.
He absolutely loved the last year version because it wasn't this hot. This version is definitely much harder. He wants to thank Adrian Bosman for this workout. He wants to give him present this from last year, and he wants to tell you, Adrian, you can keep this year one as well, so you can remember me for the rest of your life. So thank you for creating this awesome workout for me.
Roman, congratulations. 2 test wins thus far. 2 more tests coming up today. We'll see you a little bit later.
Отлично. Я не знаю, как мы будем делать следующий воркаут. Пока я ощущаю себя просто 0.
He has no idea how he's gonna do another event after this. Right now he feels like zero.
Congratulations.
Thank you, thank you. Thank you, guys.